Okay, Sunday, June 18th, 2023. I'm Alex Grover, CEO and co-founder of Restack.AI, and I'm just going to give you a little update on what we're working on. So, going into this week, we're going to try to find a animation video editor who can make us some videos on how to educate YouTube and Facebook users, how to first jump over to Twitter, and then how to get Phantom Wallet started up, how to use the Bitcoin on-ramp in Croatia. This is for our Croatian project, Hugo the Parrot. So we've got all these users on YouTube and Facebook who want to come over, but they don't know how. This is like a golden opportunity to convert mainstream people into crypto, into the crypto community, or at least educate them. I wouldn't say convert them, educate them on how the crypto things work, how to use Twitter to get the latest news, how to use Discord to interact with other people with like interests. So yeah, we're going to look at a series of videos. So, the first video would be something very basic. Twitter is not a thing in Croatia. It's like a thing everywhere else. Well, it depends. Some places it's really a thing, and in other places it's non-existent. It's very finicky, actually. So I can't say it's everywhere. But it's big in America for sure, and it's big with the crypto community. But I'm only used it since we got into Web3. I didn't even understand it before that. I just knew that that's how Donald Trump liked to talk and how Elon Musk liked to talk. But it is, I guess it's short messages, like little news updates, and then gives you a link to read more type of thing. I guess something like a Facebook post, but it's more widespread, I suppose. I suppose Facebook had the same functions. You follow a page or you follow a business or something, they post stuff. So it's probably, I'm still, as you can see, still really trying to understand. But it is famous, it is what it is, so we have to work with it. So yeah, that would be the first video. The second one would be how to open up a Phantom Wallet, which does Solana, Ethereum, Polygon or Matic, and it does a bunch of altcoins. So that's a lot easier than MetaMask. Solana, Phantom Wallet is much easier to use than the MetaMask wallet. I think it's a lot more intuitive and a lot more user-friendly, especially for a novice or someone who hasn't been in crypto, or someone who's just coming in. It's more easier to see your NFTs, see your recent transactions. They even have some on-ramp functionality, but I think it's very dependent on the country. So the third video would be the on-ramp video. Now in Croatia, there's something called the Bitcoin store, and they're both online, and they're also like, little corner stores, like a currency exchange. We have these in Ukraine, little bit places you can buy and sell crypto, and some of them are integrated with the currency exchange. And then the last video would be how to use the Orca DEX to buy the Hugo the Parrot token, like how to navigate to Orca and how to get your tokens. So 3 of them would be general purpose, and then 1 would be specific, or a mix of general purpose and specific, because there's a lot of tokens you can buy on Orca, Solana based. And now that takes me to the next topic. The BlackRock, my former employer from 10 years back, is applied to launch a Bitcoin ETF. And BlackRock's record for ETFs is like 575 applied and gone through, and only 1 declined. So I know this company because I used to work there. The smartest people in the world, I'm not kidding. I used to work with people who went to the Olympics and then graduated the University of Pennsylvania or MIT. They were like, that's the kind of people they get. And these people like to win. And they come from all over the world, from Turkey, Romania, America, Canada, you name it, Norway even. It's a personality they hire more than a degree, but a lot of people with this personality have good degrees. Now, I went to Kansas State and University of Illinois, and somehow I got in, so, and thrived actually in that environment. But so they're doing an ETF, and if that goes through, that's big. But it also has another meaning too. It's going to definitely say that crypto is an asset. not a currency replacement. So, you buy and sell this ETF, and if you sell it before 2 years, you pay up 35% gains. After 2 years, you pay 15% capital gains. So this kind of thing will apply. So it'll be in an asset category. So yes, BlackRock will make Bitcoin more accessible because it'll be an ETF. Everyone trusts BlackRock iShares ETFs. They have the largest selection of ETFs out there through the iShares. And so they have they just have ETF for everything. And it's so yes, it becomes more accessible, more people can get into it. That should push the price up, but then it being an asset and not the future of money, that might be a negative. So we'll see. I think it's going to be more of a plus than a negative, because I think it's just regarded as another asset class. Still, it's got good branding, good marketing. Me personally, and this is not investment advice, my top holding is NVIDIA. Because they, like I've said before, they hire a lot of geniuses, and real smart people, and then they get them to work together. And their CEO, Jensen Huang, if you ever seen him speak, he's I think better than Elon Musk even about his visions of the future. He's very underrated, because Elon Musk kind of steals the show. But nothing is going to happen without Jensen. Everything Elon Musk does needs to go through Jensen Huang. That's the way I see it. But that's just my opinion. But it's paid off. I can tell you. NVIDIA is. I've been talking about this since 2018. Telling everybody you got to get on board with this. Back in 2018, I was. Anytime you talk to me, something that comes out of my mouth is NVIDIA. After I read about the technologies they were working on back then for AI and self-driving. Mostly it was self-driving that intrigued me. That if we could even get the trucks to drive themselves. I think I've talked about that on a previous video. That's a big win in itself. So, yeah, that's the first part. So that's exciting news about crypto. The other not so exciting news, I guess, for me it's exciting, is that the SEC is cracking down on all these tokens and getting them classified as securities. That is something as a company, a legitimate incorporated company that wants to do business with legitimate companies, big legitimate companies, and wants to expand and grow and do good in the world. We want to see crypto regulated. We want to see people who've used it, took advantage of others go to jail. We want to see this, and we want to grow in the right way. Because what is the crypto thesis, right? That government is bad, and this regulation is bad, and people should do what they want. Well, if you live in that kind of world, it's pretty unsafe. You get 4 choices for a government, right? Maybe 5. The first one is elected government, which is not so perfect. They run elections and everything, and yeah, there's corruption, there's this, there's that. But you do get elections. There is open and fair media. People get outed. And things are slowly improving. For example, in the U.S., they used to have segregation. They don't have it. They used to allow lead in the gasoline. They don't allow it anymore. Food labeling has to be better. I think in New York, they have to put calories on the menu. So, the government is kind of protecting you from these corporations, and protecting you from, other people just ripping you off. You can call the police, if you're in trouble, or, there's FDIC insurance, people go to jail for fraud, this kind of thing, right? So it's got its pluses and minuses in elected government. The second choice is a perfect unelected dictatorship, just like Russia, China, many of these other countries in North Africa, like Libya or someplace like that. You get a perfect dictator in there. Everything just works great according to his way, like Kim Jong-un. In his view, there is no crime in North Korea. There's definitely no fraud. None of this other stuff going on. There maybe is a plus side to having a dictatorship. You don't have to bother to go out and vote. As long as you do as you're told, you get to live and you get some food rations. You don't have to compete. What you're going to eat every day. So there is some predictability. Maybe there is some good to these dictatorships. And then the third choice is drug cartels. So like you've seen in Mexico, the government is absent in Juarez, and immediately the drug gangs step in. And, you know, if you have like a pretty wife or a pretty daughter, they're going to just take her from you. You know, if you have $1 million in Bitcoin, this has happened here in Ukraine, actually. Some guy was talking about having $1 million in Bitcoin, and rule of law in Ukraine is getting better, especially in the West, but in Eastern Ukraine and Kiev and stuff, it's still up and down. So this was before the war. Some guy was, some Bitcoin millionaire was talking too much, and they grabbed him and they tortured him until he gave up his Bitcoin. So for all you people, you know, like, you know, gunning for the collapse of the American government and Western society and everything, and you're going to get rich off your Bitcoin or gold, I guarantee you're not going to hold it very long unless you're in some tribe and you're very well armed, and then you might hold it for a couple days before the stronger forces come and overpower you or starve you out. So yeah, you could be all prepped in a bunker and everything, but they can just surround you and wait you out until you run out of supplies and rations, cut off your water, you know, throw in, you know, towels with, or blankets with, you know, plague on it or something. There's a lot of historical context on this. And then the fourth choice out there is corporations, like, you know, Amazon or Microsoft or Google or something. We've already seen how they use their power, right? And they can, you know, they can push their agendas. And, you know, when you're an employee, if you don't do what you're told, you're fired. So, yeah, you get a good salary and everything. And I guess if the corporations were running the country or running the world, they'd probably get rid of the weekends. I mean, they have all these MBAs looking to cut out all this waste. And idle time is like one of the 7 wastes of lean, you know. So they'll cut out all these weekends, right? You know, what the fuck do you need weekends for? You know, so they'll cut all that out. And, yeah, there you go. So those are your choices, right? You know, anti-government people or anti-democracy people or people who think it's unfair to pay taxes or whatever. Those are the 4 choices we got. So I definitely want to see the American government in control of all this cryptocurrency and anything that could disrupt the being of a nation, of a superpower. You know, I want to see that under control. I don't want to see America like you know, out of money one day and all the cops like start turning into gangsters and robbing everybody, you know, to get paid. I mean, that was actually happening in Brazil when I was living there. They didn't pay the cops, you know, and then the cops started setting up checkpoints and robbing, you know, stopping the cars and telling the guy to give up his watch and the wife to give up the jewelry. I mean, I lived in Brazil, you know, I studied there, and I'd actually seen that up front and personal in Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo. I can't remember where, but it was going on. So that's what happens when governments falter and run out of money and collapse and all this stuff. You won't get this new normal where everything is done in Bitcoin and everyone gets along and it's all rainbows and unicorns. No, you get something pretty brutal. I mean, you can go here, you can go far enough east here in Ukraine and look at where the Russians, where an unelected perfect dictatorship has taken over from a, you know, imperfect democracy. The drop in quality of life, I mean, it's dropped off substantially, you know, and you go further east into Russia and you can definitely see a big difference between the life in Russia and the life in Western Europe for an average person. Now, if you're an oligarch and you're the one running this whole show, well, that's a different story, but most of you aren't. Most of you just holding like a couple Bitcoin or a couple tenths of a Bitcoin or whatever, or holding just some, you know, even $100,000, $200,000 in crypto. You're not going to be in this oligarch club, you know, where you have your own army and everything. You're going to be their victim. You're going to be what they prey on and what they go after. So you gotta really think. We want regulations. We want this under control. We want you know, process so people understand what they're buying. They understand what they're getting. They have a place to go if they've been ripped off. You know, people should be doxxed. You know, people should, you know, I mean, we've seen so many of these NFT projects, right, where the teams are undoxxed and they take all the money and run off. You know, I mean, if you buy stocks, all the officers' names are on Bloomberg. And if they did something very deep and fraudulent, they do go to jail. Like this lady from Theranos, you know, this I forgot her name, but she had this medical testing company and they were committing wild fraud. They went to jail, you know, so we've seen a lot of these people do these NFT rugs. They didn't go to jail, but I think people would be more comfortable buying NFTs and going into the crypto space if they knew this was regulated and they knew there was a agency or a place they could call if they got ripped off. And this is something we want. We're struggling with this. With this Hugo, like, everyone is skeptical. As soon as we talk about using blockchain technology for fundraising, using NFTs to replace like t-shirts or plastic knickknacks or something, when you're doing fundraising, sometimes you're selling stuff. So, it's like marketing. People have this coffee cup and it promotes your cause more, and they've made it, most of the sales of the coffee cup go to the cause. Of course, some go for the overhead, but NFTs would streamline that. The overheads would be lower. The fundraising would be more efficient. But they don't even want to hear it, because the only thing they hear when they hear about blockchain and NFTs in the news is fraud. And the only person that's going to help us stop fraud, it's definitely not going to be the industry. The industry does not care. The industry is just looking for ways to do the next scam and make more money. The only one that's going to help us is the government. It's like a hardcore government, with cops and guns and all this, FBI equipment to listen in on phone calls and find these people and pull them out of their bed at the middle of the night and take them down to the courthouse and get them arraigned. Then people will start trusting this technology, and then maybe the value will even go up. Now, I would say this. Now, I think the NFT, for being an NFT, is not going to give it value. The NFT has to be attached to a brand, has to be attached to an established brand, and it just augments. It's like one more thing. It's like Mercedes-Benz sells cars, right? But they can have a t-shirt with their logo and make a little money on that. So it's like one more thing to get your brand out there. And it's fun. You can create some small games with it. You can put it into a loyalty app, so if they keep buying your products, they earn, like Starbucks is doing, you earn these different NFTs, you put them together. You might even get a trip to Costa Rica, or you get some coffee machine or something. And it's like, this is classic loyalty. I mean, supermarkets were doing this. Retail stores, you buy enough stuff, you get these stamps, and then at the end of the year they have something for their, where you can use these loyalty points to get something, and it keeps you coming back to the same brand. That's where the gold mine is in NFT and fundraising, for charity causes, to make it more streamlined. And then the NFTs itself can be like a promotional item. People can use it as flex on their profiles or in their social media, or it can be used for extending a brand. Like Louis Vuitton is doing like virtual stuff, and then people can even use these virtual items in the metaverse, or whatever. So that's where the future is. But for this to work and to be trusted, we need to have it regulated. And I definitely think, to me, cryptocurrencies and things like this, they're just another kind of penny stock, right? It's another kind of stock market. These companies all have an idea, a business plan. They're going to raise this money. They're going to create some technology or create some solution. I mean, this sounds very much like penny stocks, right? There's a lot of these small companies. They have a very specific idea. I don't know if you remember Aerodyne Solutions from Wolf of Wall Street, a company in some guy's garage, and he went through all the trouble of getting it listed, but had a cool name, right? But it just rhymes. It's the exact same thing. It's just digital. So why shouldn't it be regulated the same way? And then using it's just, in principle, all digitalization is a streamlining of an existing paper process, to make something more efficient that already exists. So penny stocks have been out there, and they exist. And then, these altcoins and these small tokens, they're securities. That's what they are, more or less. I agree with that. And I think when they're defined as such and regulated as such, and people understand, that these things are under control, and that they can go check on a government website that this is registered properly, and they can see who all the officers are. They're fully doxed, in those companies, and there can be some more transparent media coverage. It's definitely going to get better. I don't know if the prices will ever go up. I think Bitcoin being ETF with BlackRock, that's going to be something. But all these altcoins, they're going to be like penny stocks. Some are going to win and some aren't. So most aren't, actually, and very few will win. It'll be like something you have to do your homework. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's our opinion on all of this. We are hoping that the government can make the regulations clear. I think there's just been a lot of talk that everything is vague, but you know what happens? I'll just one last thought on this. Even if the regulations are vague, what happens is a company like Price Waterhouse or KPMG or something come up with a guideline, you know, and their version or their interpretation of the law, and that becomes like a guide that everyone uses. And I think as long as you follow those guides, you're okay. It's just like, you know, when you earn money abroad, you know, like as an American citizen, it is kind of vague, like what's taxable, what's not. But Price Waterhouse has these guides, and that's what my accountant uses, and we just go by what's in that guide. And as long as you're doing that, and if you get audited and everything and say, well, we followed this guide, they'll be like, okay, everyone else is following that guide. So that's how you deal with that. If people are whining and crying, oh, the regulation's vague, I don't get it, it's just bitching, you know, really. You know, it's you know, it's nothing new. Government being vague is nothing new. And Price Waterhouse coming up with a guide to clarify those things is nothing new. And it'll go on and go on and go on. So anyway, take care and have a nice day.